it's off. And so I just didn't think we fought the way that we needed to.
That was Lamont Paris, head coach of the South Carolina Gamecocks last night after the loss to Arkansas, the 108-74 loss. And I think how he described that as not having that fight in that game is pretty accurate, considering you were down 108-65. You went on a 9-0 run to end the game, and that cut the lead to 34. It's like that meme of Chris Paul hitting a big three to cut the deficit to 43 in their Game 7 when he was with the Suns against the Clippers, I think it was.
It's a good one.
Forgot who it was. They got. Oh, it was against the Mavericks. Yeah, that beat the hell out of them in a Game 7 a few years ago. But from the sound of that there, before we get into the four factors numbers, which, preview, not pretty, that clip there made me think of the song The Scientist by Coldplay, where the chorus goes, "Nobody said it was easy, but nobody said it would be this hard." That kind of felt like Lamont's assessment of his own team, right? I hope you came here to play these games. I hope that's why you came to play in the SEC, is to go on the road and play Arkansas against some dudes that are going to be in the NBA. Darius Acuff's one of the best point guards in the country. Hope you came here to play against those type of dudes. Nobody said it was easy, but did they ever think it would ever be this hard? Because it was going to be, and you knew it was going to be.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's not a question that you have an answer to. It seems like a simple answer, but you don't know why they came here, right? They might have come here because this was their best possible option. They might have come here because they had no other options. They might have come here for a variety of reasons. From what we saw last night, many of them did not come to compete because, man, 34 points after when it was 43 points, there's not that much of a talent gap between these two teams. That means one team decided to stop playing. That one team was us. Mm-hmm. Because if we're all have been evaluated to be in the SEC, there's no team that's 40 points better than you. Ever.
No.
That means you stop playing at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a very clear indication. Now, what do you do after that? They have to figure that out. But there's no 40-point difference between two teams that are in the same conference. 20, maybe. Honestly, 17, 18, maybe that seems more in the realm where you just can't get it. We're playing as hard as we are, and we just can't get over that hump. But 40 points, you stop playing.
Let's look at Ole Miss as a comparable, right? Ole Miss is not a very good basketball team. They ended up getting a really good win last night against Georgia on the road, and that was really impressive. To me, that was the most impressive win they've had so far this year. But if you look at a lot of the numbers...
Maybe Georgia's not that good because we took them to the brink.
Maybe Georgia isn't as good as I thought they were. And I liked Georgia a lot this year, and that I didn't think they should have lost to Ole Miss last night at all, but also there might be a Wank White thing of like, buddy, you do this every now and then. Like you lay some eggs every now and then. But Ole Miss, you line it up and you look at the team profile, they're better than you in a lot of categories, but you're very similar in most of them, right? They're two similar type teams in how they actually play the game of basketball. Ole Miss, definitely not as athletic as a whole as Arkansas. 7-point loss to Arkansas at home. You played Arkansas on the road and got down by 40 plus. The gap shouldn't be that wide. I could have accepted, maybe even a 20-point loss last night because they are better than you. I didn't expect South Carolina to go in there and win. I thought there was a pathway or a blueprint for them to be able to make this thing competitive, and they couldn't do that. That's the thing, is that it wasn't even competitive. And if you look at the four factors too, it reflects that. Effective field goal shooting, Arkansas 64%. Again, Arkansas 64%. A team whose effective field goal shooting on the year is 56%. Top 30, but not elite. And South Carolina was at 50. Offensive rebound percentage. Now, a couple of offensive rebounds in the second half and the game kind of got out of hand. Probably helps out a little bit. But Arkansas grabbed 37.5% of their missed shots. South Carolina grabbed 35%, which is one of their higher totals. However, how much of those were when the game wasn't competitive, when it didn't matter? Turnover percentage is a big one. South Carolina turned the ball over on 22% of their possessions. Almost a fourth of your possessions did not end in a shot attempt. Arkansas only turned over on 5%. You know, we talked about South Carolina's 16 assist turnover ratio. Arkansas's was 27-4. That makes a big difference right there. That should tell you everything you need to know. And then when it comes to free throw rate, 0.232 for Arkansas, 0.22 for South Carolina. So they get to the line a little more effectively than Carolina did. But when it comes to just not being prepared for this, that what I just read off to you and the things that matter most in statistically in terms of winning basketball games tells me you weren't prepared at all to play that type of team. And I think this loss was a couple weeks in the making. You know why? Because South Carolina's non-conference schedule did not prepare them to play anybody of this ilk. Yeah, you had to play Clemson, and Clemson's athletic, but they're a good basketball team, but they're not that athletically, right? Arkansas's a little different athletically and in terms of style of play. Butler is a solid basketball team. They're not that athletically, the Fighting Jensens.
No, and if I keep seeing L's, I'm going to lose my mind.
And they're struggling in Big
They
East
are
play so
struggling.
far. I didn't think they'd struggle like this in Big East play. Northwestern, solid basketball team, but they're not that athletically. Virginia Tech, I say a good basketball team. They lost on a half-court buzzer beater last night, but they're not that athletically. Would you like to know where South Carolina is ranked in non-conference strength of schedule this year?
Really would rather not.
Reminder, there are 365 teams in Division I. They ranked 359th.
I'm sorry, one more time?
359th in non-conference strength of schedule per KenPom.
And there's 361?
364.
Oh, okay, much better. Okay.
Yeah, not by much. Much better. Drastic improvement. But to me, what happened last night is a big result of not preparing yourself in the non-conference. Yes, could you have stacked up wins? Sure. But did playing, I don't know, Charleston Southern, Radford Presbyterian, North Carolina A&T, the Citadel, Stetson, South Carolina State prepare you for that athletically? No. Other teams in the SEC challenge themselves against much better competition. This team isn't new anymore. That's the thing. It's January. It's mid-January. You're not a bunch of strangers anymore. You're a basketball team. But the experience you got becoming a basketball team came against teams that you should have beaten by 25 and 30 points. I don't know how good that does you when you have to play this game. We'll get to transfer portal news and your calls regarding last night's game. All that coming up next here in the early game.
Nice to report. No accidents at this time. No major slowdowns. 43, breezy and cold today. That's what we're looking for. The overnight low is going to be really cold. Could be 19 or 20. Tomorrow, sunny and 50, 57 on Saturday. Gets colder again on Sunday. Sunday's high 43 with maybe some scattered showers. And then we have a couple overnights where we'll be in the 20s. So it's still kind of wintry. 50 it's only 40. 40 right now on 107.5 The Game.
Before we get into some Gamecock transfer portal developments, we'll get out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, 803-404-6100. And we're going to start off with Rod. Good morning, Rod. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning, guys. Happy New Year. I had talked to y'all, let's see, since football season, so.
Yeah, Happy New Year, Rod.
All right, man. Listen, I said I wasn't going to be that type of dude that called during football season and beat Beamer down and not call during basketball season and baseball season and not say something about this daggone basketball team. Let me tell y'all something. This basketball team ain't bad. It ain't terrible. It's horrible. It is horrible. And I'm not going to be that type of fan and jump around what I got to say. You hear some fans call on this, like the last guy call on, he call and talk about his staff and all this stuff, and he might need to go. No, say it. He needs to go. If it don't turn out right and he don't get this basketball team into some kind of postseason, this man needs to go. I'm sorry. If we can call in and beat Beamer down and talk about Beamer and his football team, we can do the same thing about this sorry behind basketball team. He got 7-footers on this daggone team that want to spot up and shoot 3-pointers instead of getting the daggone paint and bang. Come on, man. Whatever happened to basketball? Why you recruit these players? And I knew what we was getting when we got the cat from Missouri, because I know he's from the upstate. He don't want to bang. It don't make no sense, man. It do not make no sense. And I'm sorry. I'm going to call it out like I'm going to call it out. This is a horrible basketball team. And I don't know why we pay these guys when somebody try to come in and try to take them to another school, we're going to give them more money or give them another step. Let the contract play out so you can see what you got. And you wouldn't have been in this situation. If he wanted to go to Ohio State, then you should have let him go. Who cares? We always be chasing behind the girl. Let the girl go. It's thousands of girls out here, thousands of coaches out here would have came in and took this job and would love to take this job to try to build this basketball team up. But no, we got to give this man another extension to come in and coach this daggone horrible team. He went out to recruit these players. He knew what he got. It was bad last night, man. It was bad the last game. It don't make no sense. This is South Carolina. South Carolina got some ballers, man. I know. I watched them boys in high school. Come on, man. I'm sorry, y'all. Hey, I appreciate you, but I said I wasn't going to be that dude that sit back and call during football season and beat Beamer down and not call and say something about this joker here. No, if it don't turn out right, he needs to go. Pay the money and get you somebody that come in that, like you said, that can get some aggressive players, man, that want to bang, that can shoot, that can play some basketball, man. It's horrible. Hey, good morning. I appreciate y'all. Love y'all. Be safe out there, doctor.
Appreciate you as always, Rod. Rod brought energy. That is what I am here for. And Rod is a man of his word, right?
That's
he
right.
did say that. I remember hearing him over the air during football season. Him say that, and he is sticking to he is sticking to his guns. I appreciate that. That's why Rod's one of my favorite callers. I always appreciate when Rod calls in. But when it comes to like what he said with aggression there too, look, if we just go by theme, right? We just played a clip earlier of Lamont Paris saying that he was disappointed in the second half effort. When we go back and listen to his press conference in the Vanderbilt game, he mentioned, and we played this on air too, that game was a lesson in aggression, right? You played a team that fouled a lot, and you didn't get to the free throw line anywhere near enough to be able to be competitive in that game in the second half. I don't like the theme of what is being attached to some of these losses. And whether or not he's trying to coach that or not is starting to become irrelevant, because ultimately your job is to get that out of them, right? That's what's making this so frustrating. If we go to Auburn on Saturday and Auburn does the exact same thing, and we, the theme again is, a lesson on aggression or driving to the basket strong, because there's a difference between driving to the basket and driving to the basket with some aggression, right? Last night they drove to the basket, but they didn't do it with aggression, and they didn't drive strong with the ball, and they got their pocket picked a lot.
And as a casual basketball fan, it felt like when they were driving to the basket, they would get 3 or 4 dribbles. Arkansas's man would be there, and they would kind of stop like, oh, he's not letting me get to the basket. I have to turn around and reverse the ball out, instead of saying like, all right, I'm going to go up strong, go through contact. It might be a block. It might be a charge. I don't know, but we're going to see what happens. They would just dribble and be like, oh, there's a guy there. Pass it. The lack of aggression is something that is very interesting. And to that point, when you look at these players that we have acquired, if they weren't aggressive, they may not be aggressive, because none of these dudes are young.
Right.
So
a lot of these guys have played a lot of college basketball.
They played a lot of basketball. So if they weren't that, they may not be that.
It may be hard to get something out of them that isn't there.
I ain't got it, man.
Right? Like, I could be held up at gunpoint outside the station. Someone goes, give me $500,000 right now. Buddy, I don't got that, okay? I'm sorry. I've got a $20 bill in my wallet. You can take that. I know it's not going to suffice, but I ain't got it like that, okay? Just take that, right? Don't ask me for something I don't have.
There's a famous joke where a dude's like, give me your money. Gun to your head. Right now. Spell the word business. Right now. Spell it. Hey, man. I can't do it.
Tell my family I love them. Tell my friends it's been real. Oh, back to the phone lines. 803-404-6100, the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. My pal Ernest is on the line. Good morning, Ernest. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning, Elijah. Good morning, Preston. I'm going to go all over the board like Rod did in a way, but I'm going to talk all sports. You're putting a product out there, and you're trying to make the packaging look all glamorous, but the product inside is stale. It's old. I mean, look how long we did football this year. It went to almost 9-10 games before you started getting rid of the bad coaches. And if it's the head coach, he needs to go too. And I'm not just talking football. Basketball, Lamont Paris needs to go. This is worse than the Frank Martin era. I'm just going to put it out there like Rod did. He is worse than Frank Martin, but we're keeping him around? I mean, you want to charge me more for a stale product? I'm not paying it. I mean, this is ridiculous. This weekend, they're offering $5 tickets to Oklahoma and Florida. I don't even think they're worth 50 cents.
Appreciate the call as always, Ernest. Yeah, I mean, like that sentiment's reflected. What Ernest just said is a common sentiment with everyone in the fan base amongst all sports right now. That's why there's so much frustration. That's why in December, before we took our break, we talked about what the record was against Power 4 opponents in football, men's basketball, baseball, being, 10-58?
Great dismount by Ernest. Finished the call solid. Great job.
Oh, that was a man with a plan right there, right?
Yeah, man, you can't. It's very difficult to continue to ask for a product, and I think there was a great analogy he said. I mean, like, you can package this up however you want, but when I stay up till 9 o'clock to watch the game, and that's the performance that you get. You hear coaches talking about lack of effort. We're not even talking about skill. Skill is one thing, but we're just talking about the baseline levels of requirement of effort. That's the difficult ask of a fan base.
In the movie Tommy Boy, don't they talk about packaging things? The packaging guarantees and something that Tommy Boy says he could package instead. So I feel like that's kind of like what we're talking about right now. Maybe like Ernest was saying, pretty packaging, but we're still packaging stuff.
You know, this is day 2 in a row with a Tommy Boy reference, and I think we've never been on a higher plane.
There you go.
As a show. Let's Let's see if tomorrow we can make it 3.
Let's try.
But coming up next, transfer portal news. Got some big visits, including maybe some players coming back from the portal. We'll tell you next on the early game. When it comes to acquiring players in the transfer portal, sometimes the biggest headliners are the ones that you already got. Because we can technically consider Josiah Thompson a transfer portal get because he was in the portal, but he came back.
We got him out.
Him and Jalewis Solomon went into the portal and then decided to come back after a short stint in the portal. But Preston, you brought up a really intriguing question off air. where if Josiah Thompson did not play at South Carolina and we acquired him in the transfer portal, would we put him in the production or the potential category, right? In the two baskets of transfer portal players that we kind of set aside of production versus potential, how would we look at Josiah Thompson if he was somewhere else? And I think that'd be in the potential category.
This is where the narratives get spun around because it's very difficult to separate all the stuff that we know about Josiah from the facts. We would need to do like a blind resume type of deal where we looked at it and just essentially looked at the numbers. Because I could see us how excited we just finished getting excited about Emmanuel Oku and the kid from NC State, Jakarius Peak. And what was the biggest thing they said? 5-star. So if we were getting sold, if this was Josiah coming from another place and we didn't know who he was or who he's been playing, you would say, man, he was a 5-star tackle out of high school, National Player of the Year. What? Man, that's a huge pickup. If we didn't know. But we've seen Josiah play. He hasn't played to that level of performance yet.
Yes.
He hasn't played to that yet. Is it there? I don't know. He's rapidly reaching, what's your level where we stop considering high school anymore?
Oh, I think I stopped considering high school after your second year.
So he's reached that point now.
Or at least 2 years of playing experience, and he started as a true freshman.
Can't wear that high school Letterman's jacket anymore.
Nope.
Nobody cares about your little high school class ring. That's done, son. You're on the campus now. So I think this is a very interesting way of how do you want to evaluate this. If you want to put the garnet glasses on and say, man, we just picked up a 5-star dude out of the portal, you could do that.
Would technically be true. Yes.
If you want to take those glasses off and say, hey, man, that dude was not very good on a very bad offensive line last year, you could say that also.
Because that's the thing with Josiah Thompson is that we're going to hold him here locally to a higher standard. And even nationally, he's going to be held to a higher standard because of what he was in high school, right? Because of the measurables, right? And he's one of those guys, you look at him, you're like, oh, yeah, it's an offensive lineman right there. That's an SEC offensive lineman. And then you saw what he did in high school. Very rarely does an offensive lineman win Mr. Football, right? That's a type of player that does that, right? An offensive lineman that just absolutely blows you away by watching the tape at the high school level. And then his freshman year, he comes in and is asked to do an incredibly difficult job, right? It is incredibly difficult to be asked as a true freshman, right? Just months removed from your senior prom to be a starting left tackle in the SEC. That's hard. And he improved as the year went on. And he got a lot better as the year went on. I think you saw a similar type of growth, not the same growth, because Lenoris kind of vaulted himself into superstardom in the last 6 weeks of 2024. But Josiah Thompson got visibly better in those last 6 weeks. And I think one of the reasons why you ran the ball so well in those last 6 games, one of the reasons why your offense got so much better in the last 6 games is because he got better. And that's why he was named a freshman All-American, right? Because, A, not many left tackles are having to start as a freshman, but he did, and he got better as the season went on. And you saw regression last year. It could just be a sophomore slump. Maybe he was asked to do something by that offensive line coach that the new one's not going to ask him to do, right? And maybe that's where you get something out of him. But that's where the potential thing comes in, because it's not like he was, a 3-star who had to play because a lot of guys got hurt and he took his lumps. We know what he can be, right? I know that Josiah Thompson is in there somewhere. Getting it out of him and making it to where he is a left tackle that is going to keep that pocket clean and make sure the offensive line is not what derails you in 2026. I know that can be an outcome. I'm still optimistic about Josiah Thompson despite the bad year he had last year, because I know it's in there somewhere, but this is why you bring Randy Clements in from TCU to be the offensive line coach, is to, if you can retain somebody like that who has that potential, then you can get optimal results.
And that was my hope from the beginning, that he would at least give the new coach's staff an opportunity to coach him up, because the last coach did not do him any favors as far as the whole squad is concerned. And though that may have been his recruiter and though he may have liked him, he didn't help him get better professionally as a left tackle. So I was hoping that he would give the new coaches a chance. And however it played out, I do not know. I don't know what happened, but whatever. He's back, and they all get a chance to coach him now.
And then when it comes to guys that are coming in, too, I mean, we'll be able to go elaborate on that, but we'll revisit this later in the show, too. Caleb Herring, an edge rusher from Tennessee, Murfreesboro guy.
Okay.
We might pick up, if he comes to South Carolina, that's 2 Murfreesboro guys joining the roster. Christian Clark, running back from Texas, didn't do a ton in the regular season, but ran for over 100 yards in the Citrus Bowl against Michigan. Telek Lockett, a right guard from Texas State, who highly productive in a short amount of time last year, redshirted, so he's got that eligibility. And tight end Gavin Harris. Again, we've talked a lot about wanting to get tight ends. Gavin Harris from New Mexico State, reportedly coming to visit as well. So a lot of developments there. Hour number 2 coming up next here in the early game.
All right, this is the last week that we're going to say Happy New Year, New You. Have you made your resolutions yet? Have you failed on your resolutions yet? Did you make them, stop them, start them again? Whatever you've done, you need to call the good folks at the Men's Clinic with Dr. Dan Boltnight. Dr. Dan Boltnight can help you reach your goals, because if you've been struggling, feeling like you've lost your edge, maybe brain fog's got you struggling to focus, you're working out, doing all those things that you resolved to do and it's not seeing any results, Dr. Dan Boltnight can help you get there. And what can they do at the Men's Clinic? They can give you a free initial consultation to get your T-levels checked. When you get your free consultation, you'll get your T-levels checked. They'll figure out what's going on with you, and maybe they can provide some solutions to help you at the Men's Clinic, which is a non-threatening, comfortable, local environment. Don't wait. Call them at 803-875-MENS. That's 803-875-MENS.
Still looking good. No accidents to report. And it's going to be chilly, though. 43 for the high, breezy and cold. Overnight low of 20. Yeah, bundling up tomorrow morning for sure. 50 will be your high tomorrow, sunny, and 57 on Saturday. 43 on Sunday. Could see some scattered showers. And then again, temperatures getting overnight into the 20s. Right now, though, again, a little bit breezy. It's 40.
Hour number 2 of the early game starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. We are about to discuss the mega showdown at Colonial Life Arena tonight. It's another South Carolina-Texas rendition. It's Vic Schaefer versus Dawn Staley once again. The over-under is the first media timeout in which Vic Schaefer takes off his jacket. Throws it in the back of the bench. But before we do that, we'll go back out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because we're also taking your phone calls, 803-404-6100. Mike is on the line. Good morning, Mike. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right, y'all. Stayed up to watch that massacre last night, y'all.
Did you watch it to the final buzzer?
I did.
Okay, wow. I respect commitment.
Sadly, I had to watch all that, y'all. And, y'all, I hate to say this early in the year, but Lamont's not it, y'all. The way we play, y'all, unless he's going to make a change, y'all, it's not going to lead to lots of victories, y'all. Just the formula he's trying to, want us to play, it's not something that can be replicated every night. We beat LSU, a couple weeks ago, last week, and he's relying on an astronomical percentage every night, and it's just something that's not it's something you're going to duplicate. And we play very little defense. I mean, y'all, I don't know how many times we've been alley-ooped on this year, y'all. We're going to be on so many posters at the end of the season, y'all. It's not even going to be funny.
Yeah.
It's just, and y'all mentioned I think a couple weeks ago, y'all, our trademark's supposed to be shooting the pea out the ball. We need an emergency procedure, y'all, because that's not working, y'all. We need to go to the doctor or something because we're not changing anything, and it's frustrating. You hear like the game, you think that we're close, but y'all, I don't know what he's watching because y'all, it is not. We are not close, y'all. We basically just roll magic 8-ball every night and ask them, are we going to shoot well tonight? And y'all, it's just not sustainable, y'all. And I hope we can turn around, but at the same time, y'all, if Lamont's not going to make any changes, which I have not seen very many changes this year, it's just, I think we're going to have to make a change in the year for sure. But anyway, thank y'all.
I appreciate the call, Mike.
You earned your airtime by finishing the game.
You did.
So, yes. You earned
an additional fan badge.
And to your point, as I said during the 6 o'clock, there was one point where the announcer says, another lob. And I was like, man, they are going, this is like Lob City here. What is going on?
And here's the thing, too. Here's the frustrating thing about when it comes up to giving up a lot of lobs. Yes, part of that is not building a team that has a legitimate rim protector. Because, again, yes, Kreese Esendoku is 7 feet tall. Yes, Jordan Butler is 7 feet tall. Athletically, and the way they play defense, not a rim protector, right?
Tall man. Big man.
Yes. I mean, part of being a rim protector is being able to be mobile enough to move laterally, get in position to be able to knock away lobs, knock away shots at the basket, be able to actually protect the rim. You can be a rim protector at 6'9". Ben Wallace is one of the greatest rim protectors in the history of the NBA. And if he wasn't rocking the afro in the game, he is not above 6'9", right? But what kills me with this team is the pick and roll defense gets susceptible to lobs because of some basic fundamental defensive things. There are plenty of teams that play small ball that don't give up a ton of lobs at the rim because they're really good at playing in front of their man, fighting through screens or switching screens or being able to have your low man or whoever is supposed to in basketball called tag the roller, meet the roller to where the roller faces some resistance so it's not a straight line run to the rim and you knock off timing. Pick and roll lobs are all timing, right? Ball handler takes the screen. Screen is well set. He's got a couple seconds of space. No one tags the roll man. He has a straight line to the basket. Gives you enough time to be able to have that window that's going to be there. Throw the lob, catch the lob, dunk the lob. All that is timing. What tagging the roller would do is stepping in front of the lob man, or they're supposed to catch the lob, make him have to take a second or two to get around you, and then the timing's all thrown off and the play's done. Teams play small ball and are able to do that, right? But you have to be able to have that drilled in your players. Hey, you might give up the cross-court pass to the corner, but I'd rather give up the cross-court pass to the corner than have the 6'10" guy jump and catch it near the rim and throw it down. They don't do that very well. They don't fight through screens particularly well at times. Even when they're aggressive on ball screen coverages, they're not pushing guys out far enough, right? How many times did South Carolina try to set ball screens last night and Arkansas do what's called blitzing the screen and having two guys converge on the ball handler? And whereas Michie Johnson started the ball screen near the three-point line, was about 35 feet away from the basket by the time he actually got space to do anything with it. That's kind of the frustrating thing here defensively. And Arkansas just picked him apart last night. It's an offense that is really good, right? That's their calling card, right? They were top 15 in the country in offensive efficiency. After last night, that vaulted them into the top 10. They're now number 7 in offensive efficiency because they were so good last night that it did a number on that number. But we'll get back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines. We'll get back to Hank. I haven't heard from Hank in a little bit. Good morning, Hank. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, fellas, I tried to do it. I watched for a half, and at halftime I said, you know, even if we were only down 12, at halftime I said, this is done. And the reason I thought it was done at halftime is because I looked at the body language of the players. I think there's, at some point you have to define who's going to be, I guess, our scorer, our secondary scorer, and play to that strength instead of just kind of like an everybody fishes type deal. Because what's going on is when we're doing that, it seems like we don't understand who our go-to scorers on offense, and so when teams are able to turn us over like they were doing last night and disrupt, it just we start getting that deer in the headlight look. And the reason I turned it off is because it doesn't seem as if basketball teams that they strain well. And I know Preston's a football player, and you'll hear that a lot on the football field about straining. And straining is when it's kind of things not going your way and it's tough, but it's not out of hand, that you continue to give that extra, whatever it is, that extra effort to keep things from getting out of hand, kind of like LSU was having their way with Kentucky. And it's just like, no, this ain't going down like this. And we've all seen it on the playground, or seen it in high school sometime where a game is going a certain place, and then somebody steps up and says, no, this ain't going down this way. Even if it gets ugly, even if we have to grab you, hold you, undercut you, foul you, whatever. And it just doesn't seem like we have that. And last night, our bigs couldn't help us because Adoko was good. As big as he is, you know, he was too slow for that type of athletic game, and Butler was back at the hotel with the flu. So, I don't know what has to happen, but, you know, the team, I think you get away from all of this, and the team is you got to look in there, you know, you got to look in the mirror and say, you know what, we saw last year, even though a lot of them, I guess, didn't see last year, and we ain't going down like this. So that's just my thought.
Yeah, appreciate the call as always, Hank. Yeah, look, there is a strain element to this where you have to find some intestinal fortitude to get yourself back in this game. You have to realize, hey, we got to haul up and down this floor. Or, you know what, how about we're the team that usually dictates tempo in this game. Georgia plays one of the fastest tempos in all of America, top 5 fastest, and you were able to drag them into the deep end of the pool with you to make it a competitive game. It's not like you haven't faced a team that wants to play fast before, and you got out on the floor and last night, and Arkansas just did whatever they wanted to do.
Hank, thank you for putting it in football terms, because you said exactly what I've been trying to articulate, but I didn't have the term for it. But that's it, strain. So if I was a defensive end going for a sack, like very rarely am I just gonna make a move. I'm not going to get touched, and it's going to be a clean line to the quarterback. It's not going to happen. Usually, you have to make a move, fight through, keep ripping, keep fighting, and you'll get there eventually. Brian Thomas Jr. was awesome at that this year. Strain, second level, second effort. And that's what I was trying to figure out when I was watching them play basketball last night. It's like they would drive 3 dribbles, and if the Arkansas guy was there, oh, man.
Help defense comes over.
I got to let me pass it away. He's in the spot that I was going to.
Oh, no. Oh, darn.
He's not supposed to be there. I thought you were supposed to let me go by when I decided to go by. And that was exactly it, Hank. I didn't see the strain of like, okay, he's there. I'm going to fight through contact, try and get to the rim. Maybe it's a block. Maybe it's a charge. Whatever. Let's see what happens. Did not see a lot. As soon as they got to a spot, the Arkansas guy was there, kick it back out, start over again, same thing. And that's exactly the vocabulary I was looking at, and I think you might be really, really onto something when you think about this team. And it might be based on identity. If our identity is just we're going to shoot a bunch of threes, I don't know if strain is really a part of that or if they've understood that, because also in shooting those threes, you start to see those threes go further back, further back, further back.
Because you don't want to face the resistance. And Lamont talked about that in the clip that we played too, right? He said sometimes the lack of effort shows not just in terms of not getting to the basket, but it's taking quick shots in the shot clock because you don't want to have to go through the process of getting a shot that you want. And you end up settling to get the possession over with, right? That was just a minor reflection as to everything that Hank just talked about, that you just talked about. It's all relative. Before we get to this next call, too, I did want to get into the women's basketball game a little bit here in this segment, because I had one question about this. Because it is Texas, and they are playing for, let's see, they played here last year at Texas, in Greenville, Final Four, and then in Las Vegas start this year. So 5 times in the calendar year 2025, and now we are playing them for the 6th time since January 1st, 2025, and at high-level, high-stakes games, too, an SEC championship game, a Final Four, a Las Vegas invitational tournament, right, that pays out a good chunk of money. But when you look at this, does South Carolina, Texas reached the heated rivalry of what they've been with LSU? Would you still consider LSU a more hated rivalry and Kim Mulkey a bigger Gamecock villain? Or would you say Texas has surpassed it because of the familiarity in just the last year? I've been wondering that the last few days. And I don't think it still has reached the vitriol that the LSU rivalry does. But I think this one's getting closer in terms of great basketball rivalry, because here's the difference between the two. Texas has actually beaten you.
Yeah.
LSU hasn't since Kim Mulkey's taken that job.
Both have a pretty good wine factor, both of those other coaches. So you got that going. But you're right. Texas has won.
Yeah. Texas has actually beaten you, right? That's the difference. But I don't know if Gamecock fans feel that same vitriol towards Texas the way they would LSU, even though if we're talking about like an organic basketball rivalry, it feels like South Carolina, Texas is a better, more organic basketball rivalry. Carolina, LSU is more of an emotional one.
That's it, because there's nobody really to latch onto with Texas. There's nobody. I mean, Roy Harmon. They're really solid players. All of them are really good.
Really good.
And they don't do anything that necessarily irks your nerves except make shots and be really good. Madison Booker, be very good at basketball. Whereas LSU obviously had players and coach who could get on your nerves.
Flair, yeah.
You know, say they played with flair. They played with a pizzazz. They had things going on where, as a fan base, you'd be like, I don't like those folks.
One of my favorite games I've ever covered it may be my favorite that I've ever covered, right? Because sometimes it's fun when two teams do genuinely hate each other. Was the SEC championship a couple of years ago. Yes, the fight was one thing, and that ended up being a black eye on what ended up being a really good game.
Forgot that happened.
But, dude, sitting on the floor, I hear players trash talk all the time. I've been close, like an NHL game, if you're close enough to hear players trash talk, you hear some foul things. But the constant trash talk between it was one-sided from Angel Reese to Camila Cardoso in that game made me think, oh, she hates her. Like there is a vitriol there that is hard to replicate.
Guessing that changed in Chicago, you know, when they both joined the Sky.
They had to wear the big shirt and run around.
Exactly. Hold hands.
Hold hands. Hey, hug your brother. Hug your sister. Have you ever had to, if you're a sibling and you had to do the mandated hug? Humiliating ritual. It's a humiliation ritual. That's what that is. Been there before. They probably had to do that, but that was one of my favorite games to cover because of the energy of that game was absolutely remarkable, which is why to me that I don't know if it can top the vitriol of what those teams had for a couple straight years and might have this year. But coming up next, we'll get to do a draft because it's transfer portal season. Who are the best transfer portal players in South Carolina football history? Well, Preston and I will draft some players next. We talk about new year, new you all the time, but what about new you, new golf game? Well, you can achieve a new golf game and make yourself get to another level in your golf game, or if you're just introducing yourself to the sport, get to where you can play with your buddies and be competitive, because at Pro Swing, they give free 30-minute swing evaluations, and they also have lesson packages available. I talk all the time about how my friends over at Pro Swing have provided a really cool place to be able to hang out, use those cool Golf Zone simulators, have a beer, because they have a bar there too and plenty of TVs. It's a great hangout spot, whether it's the Chapin location or the Forest Acres location. That's cool on its own, right? But if you're really wanting to get into your golf game and you want to improve for the new year, well, you take advantage of that free 30-minute swing evaluation with some of the pros that they have there, while also getting those lesson packages available for any type of golfer, beginners, scratch golfers, kids, adults, you name it, they have lessons for you. 803-592-3916 or book online at proswingcolumbia.com.
We have a report of an accident, hard scrabble near Lee Road, also Pine Plain Road near Access Road, and Broad River near Wash Lever Road, and that's kind of more in the Little Mountain area. It's going to be cold. 43 is the high we're going to have today, but it'll be breezy, so it could actually feel a little bit colder at times, depending on wind gusts. Overnight low, going to be cold. It's going to be 20 overnight. Tomorrow, sunny and 50. 57 on Saturday, back to some cooler temperatures on Sunday, 43 for the high, and we could see some scattered showers and a couple more days where in the overnight hours we're in the 20s. So it's still winter, January 15th. It's 40 right now on 107.5 The Game.
All right. We're in the midst of portal season. And to think of a fun way to be able to discuss how South Carolina's done in the portal, Preston Thorne are going to draft 2 teams of 4 players, and they have to be Gamecock transfer portal acquisitions. Obviously, the transfer portal's only been around since 2019, 2020. So it is a 5-6 year sample size, but that's what we're going to do for today's morning meeting.
Good morning. Repeat after me. Today will be an awesome day. Let's go. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day. Good morning, great today. Today will be an awesome day.
So here's what we're going to do. We're going to snake draft, and to find out who the number 1 pick is going to be, I have here a United States quarter. Trying to find the year. I don't know if they put that on there anymore. 2020. A 2020
Okay.
United States quarter. Preston, you're going to call it in the air.
Tails never fails.
It is tails. Preston gets the number 1 pick, but we are snaking it, so Preston will have pick 1, I'll have pick 2 and 3, and then Preston will have 4 and 5, and so on and so forth. So Preston, who are you taking with pick number 1? See, this is where it gets fun. You get the number 1 pick of all Gamecock transfer portal players ever. The board is completely yours.
The Rattler.
Oh, that was my number 1 too.
Give me the Rattler, Spencer.
Oh, that's a killer.
Gotta have a QB, man. Cannot have a squad without a QB.
Can't.
Spencer was awesome, especially at the end. Spencer Rattler, first pick of the transfer portal draft.
Oh, I'm going to have to be QB-less, but I'm not going to be weaponless. And you know what? Defense does win championships. I get 2 picks here, so I can go offense and defense. You know what? Give me Kyle Kennard at number 2.
Good pick. He was second on my big board also.
Because you know what? You may have the quarterback, but I want to get the guy on this list that best gets to your quarterback. And Kyle Kennard got to the quarterback so frequently that he won the Nagurski. So I think that's a clear number 2. Number 3, since I got 2 in a row here, I need to get a little bit of offensive juice here, but I'm not grabbing the juice on the shelf. I'm going to the rocket section, and we're going to launch them.
Launch them!
Because you may have the quarterback for the passing game, but I'm going to ground and pound this bad boy. So give me Rocket Sanders.
I like what you're doing here. You had my GM room nervous because we are making a very controversial pick. I know many folks have exiled this fella, but never forget, he was electric. Juice Wells, give me juice. Give me the
man.
Juice is loose.
See, now you have the quarterback wide receiver connection here.
I do.
And that, yes, I think a lot of people soured on juice, and that juice expired.
It did not end well. I get it. But need I remind you, that man was electric when he was wearing this uniform. That Georgia game, when he took that screen to the house, it was a throwaway call that they was just like, yeah, we just got to get it. And he took it to the house. I was like, oh. Then he's milked the injury for the rest of the year. But that's not what we're talking about here.
Always. His last play as a South Carolina Gamecock was in September of that year where he made that play. And, of course, you know, the evisceration of Tennessee and what he was able to do throughout the season. I mean, when we went back and watched that Arkansas game, because that was the ultimate game of fate whenever we were talking about all the connections between those two programs. Watching Juice Wells in that game, it gave me a nice reminder of how good he was. And then he goes to Ole Miss and is kind of just an afterthought. So maybe it's a transfer portal lesson. Sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side of the fence. So that leaves you with another pick, Preston Thorne.
Ooh.
Snake drafts get funky whenever there's only 2 participants.
This is really interesting because if you listen to this show, you'd be pretty baffled by my drafting strategy here. Because I have not done what everybody thinks I'm going to do.
I always try to guess what Preston's going to do.
But I'm staying on the offensive side of the ball. Give me Torricelli Simpkins.
Oh, and you have the offensive lineman too. Oh, that's the thing. When it comes to quarterback and offensive line, it's kind of a limited market here. Right?
Well, yeah, that's true. Well, wait, that's not true. There are several offensive linemen available.
Available.
They're draftable.
Yes. they, they are eligible for me to pick. You know what? I think I might just be able to. Maybe get them in free agency. Oh, now I get 2 picks here too. I need leadership. I'm not going to let this draft go without taking Demetrius Knight. I can't. Give me a guy who can cover some players who's good in coverage, who can occasionally get to the quarterback, who's a sure-handed tackler, some real leadership qualities. And that leads me to this, too.
Last pick.
Man, this is tough because I got Kyle Kennard, Demetrius Knight, Rocket Sanders. Oh, man. I only have one offensive player. I think I need to go offense here. Can Rocket Sanders throw the ball? Yes. You know what? Give me the easy button. I'll take Josh Simon.
Josh Simon, that's a good pick.
Maybe in terms of, like, he might not have the NFL career that some of these guys are going to have, but his last year at South Carolina, the guy, when the offense was kind of struggling at the beginning of the year, was the constant. And then when the offense got really good at the end of the season, you really saw him when plays started to break down, always finding a way to get open. I remember a couple of kind of some wheel routes that Mazio Bennett ran last year. A lot of those were open because the teams were playing zone defense, and that safety was more locked in on Josh Simon than worrying about the receiver running right by his ear and getting behind them into the end zone, right? Josh Simon commanded, for a tight end, a lot of really good attention.
For my last pick, I'm going with a technicality here. Give me Josiah Thompson.
It does technically count, not even on my board, so I got to write them down here. I wrote down a lot of names. So Josiah Thompson for Preston. All right. You know what? I need to put this up to a poll, too. You know,
yes.
Who do people think has the best collection of transfer portal players here from South Carolina's history in the portal? Preston has Spencer Rattler, Juice Wells, Torricelli Simpkins, and Josiah Thompson. I have Josh Simon, Rocket Sanders, Demetrius Knight, and Kyle Kennard.
If you're listening to this show, you realize what just happened. I think we just took each other's draft boards.
I think we did in strategies.
Right? Preston does the offensive draft. I get the firepower. You get the ground and pound, defensive end, running backs.
Have you ever played NFL Street, like the video game, where you're just drafting, you're just picking like 4 players, and you're having the offensive players have to play defense, and everybody has to play 2 ways? I feel like this is what this is going down to be. But I do feel good that you don't have a defensive player on there.
I don't. Again, we're going to win 56-52, and I'm going to hate it.
Oh, and I'm going to be jealous, too. I'm going to be jealous. I'm going to lose that 56-52 game and claim that I lost with honor, right? Oh, man, that was fun. What else is fun is putting folks on the grill, because I have some basketball submissions, even non-Carolina related from last night, that I think we need to throw on here, and we're going to get that bad boy fired up coming up next here in the early game.
Bower Parkway at Piney Grove Road, we have a report of an accident there. Also, you'll find an accident and slow down Hardscrabble Road near Lee Road. Kelly Mill at Highway 1. Also, Millwood near Divine Street. And Pine Plain Road near Access Road. As far as your forecast goes, yep, it's going to be chilly. Bundle up today. It's going to be breezy and cold, 43 for the high. The overnight low, it's going to be 20. Tomorrow, sunny and 50. 57 on Saturday. It gets a little cooler again on Sunday, a high of 43 right now. So chilly start to your morning. It's 40 on 107.5 The Game.
All right, we put a poll up on Twitter at 1075 The Game where you can vote on the rosters, because what's the point of drafting our four-team rosters if we can't get some type of finality and who wins here? So it's going to be open for 24 hours. My team, Rocket Sanders, Kyle Kennard, Demetrius Knight, Josh Simon, Preston, Spencer Rattler, Juice Wells, Torricelli Simpkins, Josiah Thompson. Right now, we have one vote, one early vote, and it's me.
Oh, no.
Because I voted.
You don't stuff the ballots.
Wow.
Yeah, delete it now. Screenshot it. So that'll be available, of course, at 1075 The Game on Twitter. But all football season long, we are putting some coaches on the grill, and we can still always put some football coaches on there, because I think there is one coach where if they do lose this weekend, we might not see back again in the NFL. I'll tell you who that is, but I have some basketball submissions first. So we're firing this bad boy up. And you know what? A school in a similar position like South Carolina, you were one of two teams to not make the NCAA tournament in the SEC. Carolina and LSU, they did play earlier this season, and South Carolina won at LSU. And then LSU, who is improved, I will say they did get better from last year, but they need some marquee wins if they want to have a hope to get in the NCAA tournament. Their net ranking is good enough to at least put them in bubble conversations. They had a chance against Kentucky last night. Yes, Kentucky has been maybe the most disappointing team in the SEC this season compared to what preseason expectation was. But LSU had them down 18 in the second half. Questionable shot selection, peeing down their leg on defense, not getting back on defense. Allowed Kentucky to kind of claw their way back in it. Well, they have a shot. 2 free throws, up 1 with less than 4 seconds left on the clock. Make 2 free throws, 3-point game. Make them have to hit a miracle shot just to send it to overtime. Well, they missed both free throws. Kentucky gets the rebound. They call a timeout with 1.9 seconds left. And shades of Christian Laettner happens, where Colin Chandler, one hand launches the ball across the floor, inbounding underneath their own basket. Malachi Moreno, who Preston and I have determined looks eerily similar to one Mac Miller. R.I.P. Catches the ball, high points it, turns around, shoots, drills the jumper. Kentucky ends up winning by 1, and an 18-point lead evaporated. LSU 0-4 in SEC play, and they've let that one, as well as a close game at Texas A&M, which would have looked really good on the resume, slip completely through their fingers. I got to put Matt McMahon on the grill, too.
It's tough. And it's really just difficult because they're our neighbors. We live in the same apartment building.
Yeah.
Like, we live in the apartment, small apartments in the SEC neighborhood. We live in the back of the neighborhood, and it's the LSU and South Carolina apartment that we live together, sharing a studio apartment.
And we can hear conversations happening because the walls are so thin.
Yes, we live together. And I'm not going to do it yet, but I'm going to put the idea, the philosophy of us being a 3-point shooting team, I'm putting that on the grill. It's cooked.
It's over. 100% cooked.
It's done. We were told that this team was going to be a three-point shooting team. They could shoot the P out the ball. This was going to be it. 23% later last night. Several games where we've shown the contrary. The only time they've achieved the magic number of 32 to 33 is against those non-con teams, which we found out was 359 out of 364?
Yep.
We are not a three-point shooting team. Put the concept and the idea, the philosophy of us being a team that will shoot the three on the grill. It's cooked. It's over.
Yeah.
We got to figure something else out.
Yep. You need a new strategy.
It's done.
At this point. Yes, I understand you don't have to be a great three-point shooting team to have a high volume of threes open up the floor for you. They shot well from two last night too, but at the same time, this is clearly not applying because you're not consistently hitting the mark that you need to on a game-to-game basis to justify shooting that many, especially when you're not a good offensive rebounding team. At that point, it just feels like you're wasting possessions and you're settling a lot.
So I'm going to give them grace. I'm not going to put the team, the coach, or the season on the grill, but just the concept of being a three-point shooting squad, I'm putting that on the grill. It's cooked. It's over.
You remember a fella named Shaka Smart?
Oh, he's one of my arch enemies.
Really?
Yeah, kind of. I don't like Shaka for some reason.
I always kind of loved Shaka Smart. I love the style in which his teams play. I love watching Shaka Smart coach teams play, depending where he's at. I did not like any of those Texas teams, and I thought that's a lesson in completely changing your identity to match a certain place when just do you, bro. They hired you for you. Do you. Didn't bring the Havoc defense to Texas. The Texas experiment clearly didn't work out. He goes to Marquette and has some incredibly successful seasons. Some really good teams. In an era of college basketball where the average, roster retention in the league in the country is 25%, which is the lowest it's been ever. He had a team that is bringing back 53% of its minutes from last year, which is 16th best in the country. A team that went to the NCAA tournament last year. A team that was contending in the Big East, a really good Big East, mind you, last year. Well, on Tuesday, they went to St. John's and almost got beat by 30. Garbage time kind of helped a little bit. They got the brakes beaten off of them in New York.
Oh, Patino's still getting it done, huh?
Oh, he's getting it done all right. And they're 1-6 in the Big East. They're 6-12 overall, with all of that continuity. Something that should be an advantage, right? And it's not like it's just the bench players that are coming. It's 53% of their minutes from last year. Chase Ross was a starter last year. Ben Gold has been a starter for 3 years now on that team. There's no excuse for them to be this bad. And Marquette, proud basketball program, this is their football because they don't play football. This is their big sport. It's very early, but I'm putting Shaka Smart on the grill a little bit.
I'm glad to do that.
You're eager to do that.
I have no basketball reasons. Mine are two strictly non-basketball things. One, he was bald and then he popped up with a head of curly hair. I didn't like that.
Out of nowhere.
What's going on here?
Kind of impressive for that turnaround. It's almost like being a chia pet. Like
it was like one season he was bald and then he came back with a full head of hair. Brian Urlacher style a little bit. I was like, I don't know what's going on here.
I know Joey Logano actually had some success with that, but that was a whole hair thing.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm not gonna accuse him. And then I don't like his sideline style. He wears the long sleeves under the polo. I think it's
I don't like that.
I think it's ridiculous.
That can't be comfortable.
I don't like it. So I have no basketball reasons to actually dislike Shaka. I just don't like his personal style.
I think that's all very incredibly valid, actually.
Yeah, to me, I've never been a fan of that. For one thing, it makes me hot just looking at that, and just the comfort level.
That can't be cozy at all. And if you're going to coach comfortably.
I mean, the quarter zip is right there. You could do that, but he doesn't. He chooses to wear the polo with the. It's not a good look. But that's not basketball reasons at all.
Well, I'd put him on the grill for that alone.
Okay.
Which I think is totally fair. And lastly, though, the NFL coach I alluded to, if the Broncos beat the Bills, and the Bills don't even get to the AFC title game, again, in a year where there is no Patrick Mahomes, there is no Lamar Jackson, there is no Joe Burrow, the teams that have been the cream of the crop in the AFC seemingly for the last 5 years not being there, this is your pathway. This was your golden ticket. If you can't get to the AFC championship game, I don't think we can totally kill the discussion of what the Bills might do with Sean McDermott, even though I do think highly of Sean McDermott as a head coach.
That's really interesting.
So I'm not putting him on the grill just yet, but I will season him.
He's seasoned. He's thawing.
He's thawing right now. And if they lose, then we'll probably apply Sean to grill. But coming up next, there's a good possibility that there is no spring game in 2026. And if we don't have a spring game this year, will we miss it? We'll discuss here in the early game. with all the construction at Willie B, there's a potential for us to not have a spring game. And my real question is, would some people miss it? As Preston shows me a picture of Future and Glenn Close where they look identical, and I'm not going to sleep after
There's
that.
a lot going on.
There's a lot. Oh, man. We could have a killer show of just what happens off air, too. That is astonishing. If you're interested in people that shouldn't look alike but do kind of look alike, I think that's your Michael Jordan of it right there.
It's wild.
But would it be wild for you if there's no spring game this year? And how much would you miss it? Would you miss it at all? I think I would, because it is a fun thing to do, right? I think we as a football-loving society just love the sport so much that even if it is an inter-squad scrimmage, it is usually a free one. And you get to see players, see guys on the roster that you expect to see next year. It gives you a very small preview, clearly, not a large preview. But is that something that we would want to see come back in 2027? I know I'll miss it a little bit because spring games are kind of fun. And I don't think everything that we do societally has to be done for a specific purpose or to make money or to be efficient. Sometimes I think it is cool to do things that are fun, which is why, to me, I am cool with the number of bowl games that we have in the month of December. But will you, the South Carolina Gamecock fan, miss the spring game if it were not to be played this year? And the feeling that I get, until I've gotten, that's becoming a lot more likely.
Well, they have been trying to sunset the spring game anyway. They've been trying to kind of move this thing to the side. You know, teams were canceling them, teams weren't having them, all types of reasons. So this is a very convenient way to not do it. That being said, I think this year specifically, I would have been looking forward to it because we get a chance to see a new coaching staff on display.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be our first time to see the Kendall Browse offense, to see them spot the ball, and you could be like, oh, yeah, that's what they do when they take the ball to the ref. Well, that's the cool thing that we're looking for. That's the tempo offense that we're looking at. So for this year specifically, I think from a football aspect, you might have missed it. But then to the bigger point that you're talking about, just to have outings and to do stuff with your family or do cool things, I think you're going to also miss that. I mean, I know last year for my family, we didn't go to the spring game. We actually ended up we went out later to the fireworks. And we sat out in the parking lot and we watched the fireworks. And we were saying, all right, so this is the game. We're going to take the baby to her first spring game. Sort of like a training. Just everybody's training on how to be fans, right? Low pressure, not a lot of crowds. So I think that was a really cool thing. And that I will miss that aspect of it. But I think this is the start of something happening.
I think it is, yeah.
But I think this is, I agree, but I think for the sake of this team and for the coaching staff, this is a really important year, like you said, to really have this game somehow, because it's pretty pivotal. We're coming off a really stinky season, and if you really want the buy-in and get people excited, you kind of need to see what we're working with here.
Yeah, I want to feel good again.
Mm-hmm. We've lost a lot of people in the portal, but we've gotten a lot of really good, players back in, surprisingly, for what we've lost. And again, new coaches. I think it's important to have it this year.
Yeah, and I'd like to see it just because of what we have in college football now, where there is so much roster turnover.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of new faces that are going to play important roles for you that it'd be nice to see them for the first time. And just from a fan perspective, I find that to be pretty valuable.
Yep.
And I find like this whole thing be pretty split too. We did a poll question at 107.5 The Game. It's pinned to the top of the profile, so it should be pretty easy to find. Asking that exact same question. If there is no spring game in 2026, do you want it to come back in 27? Got 80 votes so far, so a minimal sample size, but 53.8% say no and 46% say yes. And just since we've been talking about it right now, people on the text line, right? Billy on the Firehouse Subs text line says, it would be a great opportunity to take the spring game on the road. Charleston, Myrtle Beach would be really cool to get really creative with it. And I think a lot of people maybe burn out on just the idea of how the spring game currently is, but maybe a mix-up would be cool.
Kind of like the welcome home tour.
Yeah.
That's a really interesting concept.
I think Billy might be onto something that would be really fun, Chad from Irmo with maybe the text of the day. He goes, I would miss it as it always guarantees a Gamecock win.
What?
He goes, this is a joke. Please don't come for me.
But no,
feel you,
that's
brother.
another good reason to
That's
take
good. I like
take the family to it because, we're going to win.
Happy. Yeah,
Yep.
it's going to be good.
Everybody wins. But I guess the point you guys have made too, Justin says would definitely miss it this year. Need to see the new offense. Even if it's watered down, fans need to know something to say, okay, we look a little better, right? Again, sometimes the spring game is just a 2-hour hype machine, and getting people to want to spend the money to spend on tickets to come to the games and be emotionally invested, I find to be equally valuable too. Well, coming up next in the third hour, we'll reset on what happened, the fiasco in Fayetteville. Lulu Kesson joins us at 8:30 and a whole lot more next.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and they'll replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are, school, home, work. It does not matter. Absolute Glass will come out to you and take care of the job for you. If you're at home, you're looking to increase the value of your home, Absolute Glass can do that too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
Still working an earlier slowdown or parkway at Piney Grove Road, also Fish Hatchery Road at Charleston Highway, Greystone between I-126 and Broad River Road, Hardscrabble near Lee Road. We have an accident. Also Kelly Mill Road at Highway 1 and Mill Street, or I'm sorry, not Mill Street, Millwood Avenue. That would be Millwood Avenue near Divine Street. Going to be chilly for the next couple of days. Today, especially breezy and cold, 43 for the high, that overnight low of 20. Oh, my goodness. Sunny and 50 tomorrow. 57 on Saturday, 43 for your Sunday with maybe some scattered showers. It's 41 right now.
Hour number 3 of the early game, the third and long hour, starts right now. I'm Elijah Campbell. He's Preston Thorne. She's Jen Jensen. Rachel is in the video production room here at Studio 803, doing the important job here on the YouTube stream, making sure that that we are seen. Always good to be seen or felt seen in life. And I didn't feel seen last night watching that basketball game because I think the only thing that we could say happened in Fayetteville last night was a fiasco. It was a game that at one point was a 40-plus point deficit. I think the biggest deficit that South Carolina had last night before ending the game on a 9-0 run was trailing 108-65 with 2.5 minutes left, and the 9-0 run cut the lead to 34. And Arkansas wins 108-74. And there are a lot of basketball takes you can have for this game, right? There, I think, are plenty of explanations as to why we got what we got last night. Mostly the complete outclassing in athleticism and a complete unpreparedness, if that's not a word. I want to make it a word right now, to be able to face a team of that caliber athletically. Talk about a Freudian slip. My caliper's worked on right now. That was a Freudian slip if I've ever heard one. But the most important thing, and this is a take that Preston and I have kind of just gathered throughout the morning, is that this is a fan base that still really, really cares. A lot of people stayed up and watched every play last night. Brad, I'm texting back and forth with Brad on the Firehouse Subs text line, 803-404-6100, talking about how he watched the entire thing because he's incapable of not watching, right? He said he had to watch the entire thing. We had a caller earlier this morning say they watched it from tip-off to final whistle or final buzzer.
Bless your heart.
Bless your heart. And that was a game that started a little after 9 o'clock last night. People still really care. And seeing a performance like that, I mean, there is a level of checkout, too, that is bound to happen. But at the same time, this is a fan base that really wants to be successful in men's basketball. Obviously, like they do in football or baseball. But it's just not getting done right now. And I completely understand the level of frustration watching a game like that last night and feeling that you and even the top 7 teams in the SEC are worlds apart right now from a basketball sense.
Yeah, and there's no world if your team is in the SEC where you get beat by 40 points. That indicates that something else happened. Your team decided not to compete for the end of the game because there's just – if you're qualified to play at this level, then you can't get beat by 40 points.
No.
And I don't know, man. Arkansas is a better team athletically, but that does not matter. That's never mattered in whether you win or lose a game or whether you actually compete in the game.
Yeah.
And as I said during the 6 o'clock, and I texted you, it don't matter what the score was. If you were watching that game without the score bug underneath, there was no point in that game where I felt it was close, where I felt it was competitive, where I felt that the game, there was any path to victory in watching the game. They were down by 10, but it felt like 20 the whole night.
It did. I mean, once they got up 10 early, it felt like they were up 20. When South Carolina cut it to 6, they threw a 1-3-1 zone out there. They ended up forcing a turnover. They ended up having a 5-point swing. I think it was a 5-point solo run by Elijah Strong to cut it, at one point down back to about 5 or 6. And in theory, you should have felt like you're in the game. But did I feel like they were going to get back in the game? I didn't. Especially when I saw how frequently they were turning the ball over and how it wasn't like Arkansas had to get really fancy with what they do defensively. They sent help whenever the ball went into the post, dared South Carolina to pass it out of a double team, couldn't do it. They aggressively blitzed ball screens and made whoever the handler is in the ball screen, whether it's Michi Johnson, Mike Sharvjomps, you name it, have to take 5 steps back and then make the pass and essentially gain no advantage. Once I saw that was happening and that there really wasn't a good offensive counterpunch, or you still weren't able to even do the things that win basketball games, like taking care of the basketball, which is something that this team actually, to their credit, has done really well in SEC play until last night, I didn't have a lot of optimism that they were going to get back in it. And this is an Arkansas team that is a good Arkansas team. I don't want to disparage Arkansas. I think this is a team that is probably has a realistic expectation of being in the second weekend in the NCAA tournament. Do they get past the Sweet 16? I don't know. That'll be matchup dependent, right? But they are a team that has the potential to get to an Elite Eight or a Sweet 16, and if all things happen right, maybe a Final Four, right? But that will play itself out in the coming months. But they were flawed defensively. You could watch on tape at what a team like Auburn did to them, where they put them in a lot of conflict, they handled pressure well, and they were able to get a lot of shots at the basket and were able to win that game by 20-plus points. Arkansas's had a few games this year where they don't communicate very well defensively, they give up good looks, and if you move the ball well, then you're going to get the type of shots you want. And offensively, they did an okay job of that. They were still at a point per possession last night. But defensively, the one thing that's supposed to be your calling card, the one thing that is Lamont Paris's calling card as a coach, is being good on-ball defenders, not needing to switch on screens, not needing to be able to do a bunch of elaborate coverages when it comes to something as simple as a ball screen. They just got picked apart last night, and they looked like they were completely different worlds. And all the calls that we've gotten this morning, we've got plenty. And thank you all for calling in, 803-404-6100. If you would like to chime in, feel free to do so, because I think any Gamecock fan that watched that game last night was the ultimate culmination of all of your frustrations with this basketball program in the last 2 years summed up in one game.
Absolutely. And then when you think about this idea of, if you didn't watch it, we give you the numbers that we were going back with. We kept harping on that 30% number. Can they get to the 30% from three-point shooting? They did not. 23%. Okay. Can they get to the 16 assist number that we set? They did not. 13 assists and 16 turnovers.
Which means if you wanted to win that game, and if you're going to turn the ball over 16 times and still want to win that game, that assist number probably should need to be 22, 23, right? It would have to be a lot higher than what it actually ended up being in that game.
My number, as a casual, just looking, I don't know about three-point percentage, I don't know about turnovers, I don't know about efficiency rates, all of those things. What about the dunks?
The fun stuff.
12-2. And these two are questionable. They might have happened. I didn't see them.
Yeah, I think that happened after I tuned out and was ready to go to bed.
12-2 in dunks. What does that mean? Is that are dunks worth 2 points the same as a layup? Yes, that's true. However, it does indicate a level of aggressiveness, right? It does indicate a level of athleticism, and it does indicate a level of intention. And when you don't have dudes going at the rim, man, you're not going to score buckets. You're not.
No, it is that simple. If you're not getting to the basket with aggression, because, again, a distinction that we had to make earlier was there's a difference between driving to the basket and driving to the basket with aggression and with force and with purpose, right? The reason you do so with force, aggression, and purpose is to maybe be able to get up to the rim to make a dunk, or to be able to draw a foul, or just to be able to get to the line, fight through contact, and be able to finish through the contact and score, right? If you're a good free throw shooting team, you should be trying to get to the free throw line a lot. And there are referees that even if something might technically be a foul, if you go up weak with that mess, they're not going to reward you. Right? If it looks like they just picked your pocket, they're not going to reward you, even if they did get your hand a little bit. They're not going to reward you for it. There's a level of aggression needed to be a team that does get to the free throw line with regularity. And even just on that basis, that was something that this team could have done in this game to make it competitive and it not be a 30-plus point bloodbath like what we saw last night.
Again, you went into the technicalities of it, but I keep repeating this because it stood out to me. At one point, the announcer says, and another lob. It just kept doing it over and over again. You gave us all the technicalities of what that means defensively, but just from my standpoint, it's like, yo, we are getting outclassed right now.
Yeah.
And that does not feel good to watch, especially when I don't know all of the technicalities of what's happening. I do know I see a dude throw it up and boom, over and over again. Can't be good.
Yeah, you don't have to be John Wooden or even Jay Billis to know that when one team's getting to the rim enough to do that and put up 66 points in the paint on you, like you could have had two different rules for two different teams in that game and say, Arkansas, you're only allowed to score in the paint. South Carolina, you get to shoot anywhere on the floor, and shots from out here are worth 3 points. It still would have been a 6-point game, right? And that's assuming that they're playing under a certain set of rules, but only a few of them actually count. We'll get to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because Bill is on the line with us. Good morning, Bill. Welcome to the early game.
Good morning. How are y'all?
Pretty good. You doing all right?
Yeah. Just another example of Ray Tanner could not hire well. Lamont Paris is not a caliber top 5 coach. Needs to be fired, needs to be terminated, and let's go get somebody that knows how to coach basketball. Those guys don't do anything but play sandlot basketball. They stand out at the three-point line, shoot threes. That's all they do. They don't even try to rebound. They do not play defense. It's obvious we've got wrong coaching staff, and our athletic director needs to step up, do what's right.
Yeah, appreciate the call, Bill. And I think that sentiment is definitely shared amongst a lot of fans right now because when you lose in the manner that you did last night, what Bill is feeling and what Bill is alluding to is going to start sticking out more like a sore thumb in terms of where the program's at. A loss like last night, if it was a close game, if you lost at the buzzer, it hurts. You could live with it, and you're going to nitpick of the plays that ultimately led to what the result was. But when it was one of those things where it felt over from the first 5 to 6 minute stretch, it's like what you alluded to yesterday, right? If you go to a pond and there's one dead fish, you ask what's wrong with the fish. If you see 50 dead fish, it's what's wrong with the pond. And I think it is incredibly fair to ask in that building what is wrong with the pond because there is something wrong with the pond. Going back to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines, Marv is on the line. Good morning, Marv. Welcome to the early game.
Hey, good morning. I kind of want to piggyback off what the gentleman just said. Lamont Paris, for 3 years now, has decided he does not need a point guard, nor does he need bigs. And when he had bigs, he didn't know how to use them. Furthermore, I just don't understand what his scheme is on the floor, what our plan is. Mongolian Mike is obviously our best player, and the offense doesn't run through him, and it makes zero sense. And I'll hang up and listen.
Yeah, I appreciate the call as always, Marv. When it comes to Mike Sharvjamps, one thing that I like to use in terms of like assessing how much a player is being used on the floor, there's a good number on KenPom where they use or they calculate the percentage of possessions a player is used, right? Okay. Like when you're on the floor, how many possessions are you taking the shot or are you making the pass to set up the shot, right? It's an inexact science, but it gives you a good idea of how much a player is featured in an offense, whether it be from a playmaking standpoint or a scoring standpoint. And we were told a lot that Mike Sharvjamps would kind of be a player the offense runs through a lot. When you look at South Carolina, Mike Sharvjamps has a usage rating of 18.5%. That is fewer than Eli Ellis. That is fewer than Norton Capich and Kreese Asandiko when they're on the floor. That is fewer than Michi Johnson. It is significantly fewer than Elijah Strong, who is at 29.8%, which is good for 59th in the country in terms of usage percentage. So what Marv's eyes are telling him, it's not deceiving him at all. The numbers back that up. And when it comes to adjusting what you do during the season, maybe putting him in a playmaking role is something you're going to have to try doing more of, because if you are going to be a guy that the offense runs through, then you have to be above that 18.5% number. KenPom has them, like, if you are in between 16 to 20% of possessions used, you're considered a role player. And I don't think you brought him here to specifically be a role player.
Got you. But that leads to my question is this. If you didn't bring him here to be a role player, but all he's ever been in his career is a role player, why would you expect it to be something different when he gets here at higher levels of competition? That doesn't make a lot of sense.
No, and that's the thing, that when it comes to team construction, it's a failure in team construction. Last year at Utah, that number was 18.8%, lower than this year. At San Francisco, it was 17.7. At Dayton, it was 17.3.
That's a valuable piece of a team, not the most valuable piece of a team.
Yeah.
So you can't bring them in with all of this data behind them expecting it to be different now. That's a failure in evaluation.
It certainly is, and we'll get to more of that and more of your calls coming up next here in the early game. Where's my read? Well, we talk about evaluation all the time. If tax issues are bothering you and that's become your biggest opponent in life so far, whether it's business tax issues or income tax issues personally, the Ecton Law Firm is a team that can help you, right? If we're recruiting people to help fix your problems, I highly suggest going out to recruiting John Ecton and his team at the Ecton Law Firm, because if you call 803-771-9800, you can talk with John and his team to be able to set up a free consultation where you'll go over those issues, attack them at the source, and then be able to work with them further to get yourself one step closer to a worry-free life. Because John and his team at the Ecton Law Firm are ready to offer you that peace of mind that you deserve with the proven local solutions that have helped thousands of families and businesses just like yours escape that IRS maze. Again, set up that consultation today, 803-771-9800, or hit them up at ectonlawfirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com.
Bauer Parkway at that just got cleared. That's good news there. We do have some an accident to report. Greystone Boulevard between I-126 and Broad River Road. Still working Kelly Mill Road at Highway 1, Millwood near Divine Street, and Fish Hatchery Road at Charleston Highway. Some stop-and-go traffic, I-26 eastbound between 102 and I-20. And your forecast is going to be chilly, that's for sure, especially with the winds and the wind gusts. It's just going to seem even colder. 43 will be the high today. Overnight low of 20. Tomorrow, sunny and 50. Right now, it's 41.
Revisiting last night's game between Arkansas and South Carolina and really what this means for the basketball program, the men's basketball program moving forward. Coming up here and in the next segment, Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News will join us to talk about the women's game tonight at CLA, a massive showdown between Texas and South Carolina, a rematch of Carolina's only loss earlier this year in Las Vegas. That game should be incredibly exciting. Can't wait to talk to Lulu about that. But first, we'll go out to the AAA Heating and Air phone lines because Nick is on the line and wants to weigh in on where this men's basketball program stands right now. Good morning, Nick. Welcome to the early game.
Preston, Elijah, Jim, what's going on, y'all? Doing okay, riding through town right now. Wearing a quarter zip. Hope my day doesn't end in the same result as OLP last night. But really what I wanted to get on here and say, make a couple points. First thing would be Preston, man, I totally agree. Let's put this three-point thing to bed. What do they say the definition of insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, getting the same results. Well, that's what's going on in the three-point line. And, shoot, maybe I'm insane for keep tuning in and I can expect the same results. But that would be one point. Another thing I'd like to bring up, man, is does anyone sit there and just laugh watching that offense run around? I mean, it's a joke. I've never seen an offense jog and move around so much, but nothing positive come out of it. Ball gets swung around, jack up a three-pointer at the end. Man, it's just frustrating to watch, and I will probably tune in Saturday night, but I don't know. We need a change, guys. We need a change.
Oh, I appreciate the call as always, Nick. Yeah, I love I'm probably still going to tune in Saturday night because
that's the spirit.
That's the best part of fandom. What if it happens? What if they beat Auburn?
Listen, man, we're still here. And that's the whole point of this, and this is why it's been really, really cool, honestly, after that, to see that we're all still invested. We all want this thing to work, but it's clearly not working. And so something needs to change, Nick, and you're absolutely right.
And that's what I've, at least this morning, have found pretty heartening because I love basketball. And I, of course, don't get me wrong. I love football. I love college football. I love the NFL. I'm as football crazy as anybody. But basketball has always been like my number one love. I love talking basketball on the airways with you guys. I love it. I live to have these type of discussions. So whenever they start getting really bad, right, and when they have seasons like last year and like what we've seen so far this year, I do hate that there's a level of checkout, but I completely understand if there is. I get it, especially if you are paying tickets to go to the games and you are committing like your Saturdays or your weeknights when these games are on weeknights or like last night, you're staying up to watch it. If you have to get up early in the morning, a 9 o'clock tip-off is not ideal, but some of you that have texted in and called in have said that you stayed and watched the entire thing, and I love that, right? It is, I find, to be very heartening that you guys want it to be, for them to be a relevant basketball program, and I think that's what they want too, is relevance, and it just really does not give you a good feeling watching that game last night and seeing just how far apart you can be in some of these games. Again, sometimes it's not that you lost. Sometimes it does matter how you lost, and how they lost last night was reflective of a team that looked like it didn't even belong on the same floor as Arkansas.
Yeah, and it bears worth repeating if you're just tuning in or if you're just looking. The 3-point thing that Nick is referring to is that the team, we were sold this team was going to be a three-point shooting machine. Shoot the P out the ball, I think is almost a direct quote that we heard. and they have not accomplished that in any games against Power 5 opponents.
Nope, has not happened.
It hasn't happened.
The only one was LSU.
The only one time was LSU, and they won that game, which I don't know if you could just bank on it happening randomly. Last night, the number that you're looking for is 30%, and last night they were at 23%, and it just continuously happens, and that can't be your strategy if you want to move forward and win games.
No, especially when there are things that you do well that don't involve three-point shooting, right? Like you do get, when you get to the line, you do make free throws. Okay, so if you look at your team and you're evaluating everything that you do well and you don't do well, you say, oh, well, we're top 10 in the country in free throw percentage, making 78.7%. Okay, well, can we get to the line a lot? Well, you get to the line just a smidge better than the average Division I basketball team, right, in terms of free throw rate. Well, okay, well, we are a top 20 two-point shooting team. Yes, does a lot of that revolve around the spacing you have because of how many threes you shoot? Sure, but instead of shooting 59.8 or almost 60% from two like you do in the year, maybe that number is 55 or 54. If you stack up a lot of those and you're consistently getting 54, 55, guess what? That's still more than a point per shot when you shoot it. When you're shooting a bunch of threes and you're not making at least 33%, then you are well under a point per shot. Then the math turns against you, right? If you shoot fewer threes, are you going to get better looks from two? No, but if you can still make 54, 55%, which you're capable of doing, then the math can work in your favor, right? And I think we're seeing a small dip in terms of like three-point attempt rate, but not a lot. It's a minimal bump. You were at 49, 48% for most of the year. Now you're at 47.5. It's not enough for it to matter. And I think there has to be some real, true soul-searching in that locker room when it comes to, and in the coaches' offices, in terms of how do we want to strategize this thing moving forward, because what we're doing right now is not working, and you cannot continue to have nights like you did last night.
Yeah, and there's a fine line between, like trusting the process or changing course, right?
Right.
You've been driving before, and the GPS is telling you to go somewhere, and you're like, I don't think this is right. I'm just going to follow this GPS into the lake.
It's so infuriating when that happens. I turn into a Luddite so fast whenever that happens.
It happens all the time. You're driving, and you're like, I don't think this is sending us the right place. But then you just keep driving and driving, and you end up in the wrong place. You're like, I knew I should have.
It's the worst.
It's kind of how we feel. Like, we're just going to keep driving this thing, and eventually we're going to be at the bottom of the ocean, at the bottom of the SEC, I should say, which we are, with our neighbors LSU. Hi. Hey, Matt, man, what's up?
Yeah, hey buddy.
We're down here. So I don't know, man. I say this, and I say this all the time about football, and I'm pretty confident I can say about basketball. Coaches make adjustments in season all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It can happen. It's not this big undertaking. Things can happen where you change what you thought you was going to be. That might have been it, and things might have changed, and you can make an adjustment.
All right, back to the AAA Hitting Air phone lines. Keith, we only got about 30 seconds for you, but we wanted to get you to weigh in here real quick before we get to Lulu. Good morning, Keith.
Good morning. How you doing?
Doing good.
All right, real quick, and then y'all can comment after the break. Look, your knowledge of basketball is, I've always felt like you're the number one guy on the network, and I appreciate that. But it's obvious. I mean, to really depend on the three, you really need to work in and then work out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you still got to shoot the ball good. But we don't have anybody we really don't have a true point guard, and it just boils down to overall talent. I mean, we've got a few people there that look like they're belong out there, but, I mean, what do you think's missing? I mean, it's hard to watch.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all have a good day. Enjoy the show every morning.
I appreciate that.
Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. And when it comes to what we're missing, shot quality, it has a big thing to do with what your three-pointers look like. And if you don't have a true point guard or you don't have bigs that set really good screens, a lot of those actions that you run aren't going to work. A lot of things that you do aren't going to work because part of a really good ball screen is setting the ball screen. A lot of good things in terms of getting an open shot, creating it, is throwing it right accurately into a shooter's pocket. A point guard and a true big help that a lot, and the fact that you don't have it is a failure on roster construction. Goes back to a lot of things we've said already. But coming up next, Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News will help us preview tonight's massive showdown at CLA next.
Not your thing? Especially losing basketball?
We say new year, new you all the time, but it can be new year, new look for your home because, look, 2025 flew by fast, and I think it flew by for a lot of us, and sometimes things can get away from us, and if it's cleaning your home and one New Year's resolution you have is for your home to be a little bit cleaner, well, my friends at Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning are here to help you reach that New Year's resolution. That way, you don't have to put in the grunt work, because right now, you can take advantage of their New Year's sale going on, where you can get 2 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $139, and when you mention my name, Elijah Campbell at 107.5 The Game, should be an easy thing to do, you'll get 2 additional rooms cleaned for free. It is a remarkable deal. Do not wait. This deal does not stick around all year because it's only here for the new year. Schedule online at ZeroResColumbia.com, and remember, Zero Res, spell it backwards or forwards, it's the right way to clean.
Fish Hatchery Road at Charleston Highway still working that earlier slowdown, and Greystone Boulevard between I-126 and Broad River Road. Millwood Avenue near Divine Street still working on that earlier accident, as well as Kelly Mill Road. at Highway 1 and do have some stop-and-go traffic, I-26 eastbound between Lake Murray Boulevard and I-20. Cold? Yep, that's in the forecast. Breezy today. 43 is about as high as it's going to get. 20 overnight, 50 tomorrow with some sunshine. Right now it's 37 on 107.5 The Game.
Time to phone a friend because tonight over at Colonial Life Arena, South Carolina is taking on Texas. Now, you've been keeping up with the team this year. South Carolina's only got one blemish on the resume, and that was against this said Texas team when they played in Las Vegas. And Rory Harmon hitting a shot in the final seconds was the ultimate dagger in that game. Here to talk with us about the game tonight in SEC play, a game that's going to mean a little bit more, our friend Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News. Good morning, Lulu. Appreciate you taking time early this morning to hang out with us.
Good morning. Thank you guys for having me on. I appreciate it.
Oh, always, always. And the first thing I think a lot of fans would be interested in hearing is not many teams in college sports get midseason acquisitions. Well, South Carolina's got a midseason acquisition, and you tweeted out yesterday that Alicia Tornabee's expected to be able to play. So my question to you, Lulu, is what's a reasonable expectation of actually seeing her on the floor tonight?
Yeah, that's a good question. I definitely did not expect my Twitter to have so many replies of different fan bases fighting about her usage and the morals behind it and all that craziness. That said, I think it could go I sort of have like two different theories. One being like Dawn has seen enough of her in practice where she's incredible. Not saying she's going to come in here and play, 20 plus minutes, but the type of thing where Dawn's like, oh, she's even better than we thought. Or this is an instance where Dawn knows she can handle 5 to 7 minutes of action, kind of giving Medina Okot some relief off the bench. I think the way that she'll spread out the offense, regardless of when she plays, not just tonight, but the dynamic that she brings and her abilities, I think will really elevate South Carolina. So I lean more towards sort of kind of just getting her feet wet today, but I also wouldn't be surprised if somehow she plays some pretty decent minutes backing up Joyce Edwards and Medina Okot, just given the sort of level of offensive intensity necessary to beat a Texas team.
And speaking of trying to beat this Texas team tonight, obviously I alluded to the meeting they had in Las Vegas back in November. Lulu, when you go back and look at that game, what do you think was maybe a deciding factor outside of Rory Harmon's tough fadeaway shot in the final seconds to win that game? What do you think was one of the more deciding factors in that game, and how much has really changed with both of these teams coming into tonight's showdown?
Yeah, and I want to be honest, I'm not saying this to discredit Texas because they're a phenomenal team, but it was one of those games where I almost wanted to turn it off because South Carolina missed so many layups. And they were honest about it. The second they landed in Columbia, the first thing Dawn said when we chatted with her was like, holy crap, we need to make our free throws and make layups. So I do think South Carolina beat themselves in a lot of ways. That sticks out to me. I've seen a lot better, I would say, on the layups. The foul shots are sort of iffy here and there, but I think Texas disrupted South Carolina's flow a little bit on offense, and when they weren't making the easy shots, it sort of kind of got in their head maybe, or just sort of ballooned from there. I think with this Texas team, it's hard because you can't just guard Madison Booker. You have to guard all 5 players on the court. They're a really dynamic team this year. I would say a little bit more than last year, but South Carolina really has to make shots that they're given tonight, because that could be the total difference maker in my eyes.
Yeah, and I think Texas is a lot more dynamic. I think just them being a year older kind of helps them out a lot too. Players like Madison Booker having an extra year, and getting able to come back and kind of continue what she did last season is a big deal. But when you look at the meetings last season, obviously Bree Hall was the one who was always getting the Madison Booker assignment. If there's any player that put Madison Booker in jail last season, it was Bree Hall. But to quote Rick Pitino, Bree Hall ain't walking through that door, right? Who do you expect to kind of be the primary defender on Madison Booker tonight to try to kind of negate a talent like that?
Yeah, no, and honestly, the Bree Hall Madison Booker matchup was like kind of one of my favorite things to come out of last season. It was just basketball at its finest and so fun to watch. But you know, it's a toss-up because I think Raven Johnson is able to sort of disrupt any player. Obviously, there's a little bit of a size difference height-wise if Johnson is guarding Booker. But also with Tessa Johnson, I think this has to be a big game for Tessa, whether she is the one-on-one direct matchup with Booker or if she's responsible for sliding over to help off of her player, but also if she's guarding Jordan Lee, not letting her take open shots at the three-point line. So I think that in some ways it's sort of up to those two, especially because Raven did help with Bree on Booker last year, but Rory Harmon she just makes the offense go, and when she's facilitating with ease, Texas is just that much better. She's averaging like 7.4 assists per game. She had 9 in the win for Texas over South Carolina. So whatever Johnson it is, I just can't imagine Dawn would give that assignment to Nia Latson, knowing she's coming back from injury and just sort of maybe not 1,000% yet. But I'm interested to see how this matchup goes, knowing that Dawn has already seen this group of players play against Booker once already.
Lulu, does having to expend that amount of effort on defense, will that impede on the offensive play for either one of the Johnsons?
That's a good question. I think with Tessa, knowing how last game goes, she needs to see the ball go in. I mean, we watched her shoot for maybe an hour after the game ended. What was that, Sunday? Yesterday after practice, she was late shooting baskets. I think she probably just needs to get out of her head a little bit, knowing that she had a rough shooting night, especially from the three-point line. So I think even if, yes, she's wasting a little bit more energy on defense than she normally would, as long as she at least sees 1 or 2 shots go in, I think the confidence will still be there, where if she's taking less shots, it doesn't matter because at least the ones she's taking, she's hitting.
Now, my second question, not as serious basketball question, over under, Vic Shaver's sport coat, does it make it out of the first quarter on him, yes or no?
Let's see. No, I think that thing's coming off within the first 3 or 4 minutes. I think it's an early, and I think it's going to be something totally. I think one of his players is going to pick up a dumb foul, maybe a controversial call, but I think it's just going to be something that sets him off from the jump.
Yeah, the fuse can be pretty short with him when it comes to shedding the coat, and especially in big games when he's coaching against Dawn Staley. Last thing for you here, Lulu, because these teams have played against each other now, this will be the 6th time since January 1st, 2025 that these teams have met. Do you think with the fan base it has reached a bigger level of rivalry with Texas than LSU, or does the emotion behind the LSU matchup resonate more with Gamecock fans?
I think there's still more between South Carolina and LSU, excuse me. I think that with the Texas matchup, it's less fan base. I see a lot of who should be on first for second teams in Joyce Edwards and Madison Booker, that kind of constant debate. But I think overall there's still an extra layer, especially this year with South Carolina and LSU. And I think, at least since I've been here and since the SEC tournament a couple years ago, I think it's going to be hard to sort of reach that level with the fan bases. That said, I think that also when you play a team for the 6th time, you're either like, all right, this is a fun matchup that makes basketball better, or you're like, oh my God, I can't look at these jerseys again. So there's sort of 2 ends of the spectrum there.
Certainly. That's Lulu Kesson from the Greenville News. Lulu, appreciate your time as always, and looking forward to seeing you tonight over at CLA.
Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good one.
Thanks, Lulu.
Lulu, always a winner on this program. We'll give you our winners for today's show, brought to you by the Golden Spur, coming up next here in the early game. got plenty of winners for you, Coach. Brought to you by the Golden Spur. Our winners for today's show. There's a lot that we can get with. We've got a lot of them. And I think the first one, and I know Preston is nodding in agreement, celebrity lookalikes. Because if you watch the SEC Network before the South Carolina-Arkansas game, Kentucky and LSU played in an absolute thriller. LSU gagged away an 18-point lead in the second half of that game, had a 1-point lead with 1.9 seconds left. Kentucky had to inbound the ball underneath their own basket, and Colin Chandler kind of channeled his inner Grant Hill and threw a touchdown pass to Malachi Marino, who then channeled his inner Christian Laettner, and he hit that shot at the buzzer to beat LSU. But the reason celebrity lookalikes come into play here is that my man Malachi Marino looks eerily similar to Mac Miller. Disturbingly similar.
Yeah, you said it in the break. I was like, all right, let me check it out. Oh, whoa, look at that. Wow. I mean, it's different places, because you said you thought it was in the eyebrows, but I thought it was in the chin. It is wild how much he looks like Mac Miller. Rest in peace.
Yes.
Winner,
one of the
Mac
best.
Miller.
Always
one of my faves. Swimming, Desert Island album for me. That being said, if we continue down this trend, if you just go on the internet and you type in Troy Aikman, Jay-Z, whoa.
Two people that you don't expect to look alike until you look really closely. And there are a couple pictures where you don't have to look that closely.
It's fascinating. So yeah, celebrity lookalikes is a great thing trending. And then I put you on the one, which was the future Glenn Close celebrity lookalike. Tyler, are you familiar with this one? Just go ahead and type it in the computer when you get a chance.
Which, I wouldn't blame you if you're not familiar with that.
Deep cut. But Future and Glenn Close, two people who you don't think look alike and actually do look alike.
And when you see it, it might stun you. And it will stun you.
I'm going to give a winner to you, the fan and listener, because even when you get beat by 40 points, you all were engaged.
Yeah.
You are still here for Carolina basketball, and that's exciting because we want to talk basketball. We want to talk hoops. Elijah is obviously a diehard. I love hoop just from watching it because I just love the sport.
Awesome
and so
sport.
For us to be able to still have this great conversation today was fun today. So shout out to you all.
Yeah, I certainly tip my cap to you guys, because if you've shown anything today, it's that you still really care about this program. You know how easy it would be to check out after a game like last night? And you know how many people have texted or called in saying they watched the entire game? This is a game that ultimately at one point had a 43-point deficit. 43 in the last 2 minutes, and you stuck around. I think it's important to note that this fan base is still really cares about this team, and what you're seeing in terms of the frustration comes from a place of care. I think people want to see this program succeed, and you've seen it at various levels of success. I still hear all the time about those teams in the late 90s, despite what happened in the NCAA tournament, talk about how fun the run was, right? And even 2017, when they made it to the Final Four, how fun that run was and how much it ignited what is already a basketball-loving fan base.
And to be fair, how fun 2 years ago was. Because that was one of the damning parts of watching the broadcast, is they kept showing the highlights from 2 years ago, and you would see B.J. Mack shooting threes, and you would see all those cool things happen. It was like, oh, man, we were just there.
And then if you're an NBA fan and you're watching what Colin's doing with the Raptors, he's not giving that starting spot up. They've inserted him in the starting lineup. He's there for good because he's helping them win games. Season ends right now. They are hosting a playoff series, and a lot of that is because of what Colin Murray-Boyles has brought them. And then you understand what happened last year, going 2-16 in SEC play, and knowing that you had that guy on your team and it still wasn't built well enough around him for it to work, makes things incredibly frustrating.
Winner, Vic Schaefer's sport coat, who has 4 minutes worth of work to do. He warms up.
Like C.J. Stroud on Monday Night Football earlier.
He doesn't have to do a lot, but he has to do his job. He has to cover him up during warm-ups. He has to get thrown to an assistant at probably about the 7-minute mark of the first quarter.
Now, will it be thrown to an assistant or thrown at an assistant?
So I've seen Vic do it a couple times. Sometimes he just takes it off and just throws it, and the assistant has to catch it. Sometimes he throws it on the ground, and the assistant has to go get it. It's kind of like Spurrier with the visor. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to throw it off. But Vic is with the Blazers, so I want us to win, obviously, but that's the first thing I'll be watching.
Another winner, Johnson & Johnson. No, not the company. Tessa Johnson and Raven Johnson, because when Lulu Keston was on with us in the last segment to talk about last night's top 5 showdown that's happening at Colonial Life Arena between South Carolina and Texas, the 2 most important players to her are Raven Johnson and Tessa Johnson, both offensively and defensively. Can Raven run the point and be able to have another night? I think if Raven gets 7 or 8 assists in this game, I expect them to win this game. If Tessa Johnson hits 3 or more threes in this game, I expect them to win this game. And whichever one of them is chosen to be on Madison Booker duty, maybe you see both of them on Madison Booker duty. If they're able to keep her shooting ineffectively like Bree Hall did last year, that team's going to have their biggest win of the season tonight.
Quick winner, Bree Hall. What a fun defensive player to watch.
Do it all, Bree Hall.
That was so much fun when she was playing with us.
One of my favorite prototypes of basketball player, the lockdown defender.
Yep.
That's the other team's best player. You're on them all day.
Cat coverage.
Cat coverage. Bree Hall was that player. Tyler Head and Jack Felcher, they're winners. And the extra point is next.